Southpaw Battle Coalition. It's the battles at Boombox Volume 4 Face-Offs. My name's Radio B. I'm here with my co-host, Lady Savage. We've got Introverse in the building. And his most recent opponent, everyone should know this man, King Fizzle. A lot of people saying y'all had a classic at the last battles at Boombox. I love that battle. It was one of my favorite battles of the night. What's upcoming for you, Fizzle, you're taking a break. What's upcoming for Introverse is he will be battling Trey Authentic. Trey Authentic, very seasoned battle rapper. Doesn't have a lot of battles on Southpaw, only 2 battles on Southpaw. But also, obviously, MVP on the rap elite side of things, 7-time champion, very accomplished MC in the multiverse. Before I ask you your opinion, Fizzle, what do you think of this battle? Just from a, as a peer, as a person that studies this, the multiverse, the rap elite side, the Southpaw side. What do you think of these 2 MCs and what this battle could be?
So this ain't a clear-cut battle for me. This one is difficult for me to even think about. I ain't even put a lot of thought into it. I think it's gonna come down to what are the factors of what happens that night. I think both MCs have the potential to win. I think Trey, from what I've seen from him, Trey does a good job in small room environments. So having this battle at the Boombox here might play to his advantage. But you have more experience in the Boombox. You've been here before multiple times. So I don't want to give it's hard for me to give a favor I think the battle comes down to also who's going to have better crowd control. And that's gonna come with how do you deliver your raps to generate a audible reaction. And I think that you might have an advantage there, because it's tough, because Trey also, he's very confident coming into this. He's coming off of a streak of wins. He didn't win last Rap Elite, but he's very consistent. He's doing this a lot. So plus he has an extensive resume, a longer resume. So it's very hard for me to say. Well, I will say that you do have a potential to beat him, but again, I know you ain't sleeping on him either. He, if he comes with the classic Trey, then it could be very dangerous for you. And I'm sure you anticipate, a lot of that. I'm sure you did your homework like you did with me on some SAT shit. I respect that. So it's hard for me to declare a clear winner on this one. It's tough because I think it really comes down to what Trey does. It's not about what he does, because I think you've also displayed a lot of growth, but you also displayed consistency. Trey on the battle stage, he's been very good, but also he's had battles that don't live up to his to what his previous battles were. So it's hard to say, but I think that you do play to your advantages. You do have a very good chance of winning against him too.
Introverse, I know you've definitely done your homework. How do you feel, and how do you approach this battle with Trey Authentic?
I feel confident. In some ways, my preparation for the battle has been trying to exercise some of the things that I feel like I'm a little weaker at, which are areas that he is stronger at, like punchlines, back-to-back punchlines. Now, where I think I take the advantage is that I'm able to do stronger setups. I think that I can be a little bit more creative with my punchlines, and I'm able to use my performance to hit harder. So going into that, I've been bearing that in mind a whole bunch. I wouldn't say I've done away with it, but I have toned down some of the more abstract references. I want to be able to reach out with a larger hand, if you will, so to speak, to try to grab people's ears. And, obviously I can still do that while still being myself and, uncompromising. So that's how I've been looking at it. It's almost I want to beat him at his own game, but not to such an extent that I'm going to get tunnel vision and use that as my only potential advantage.
That makes perfect sense. That definitely sounds like someone that has done their homework. You know, like I said, we've only seen Trey in 2 battles on Southpaw, and both were against very formidable opponents. Rossetti being his first, and Bravo being his most recent. He took losses in both of those battles. Do those losses? How do you view those losses? Does that decrease your threat level, or are you still viewing him as a very dangerous opponent?
So it's kind of a toss-up. I've had two like thoughts in my mind at once, in the sense that on one hand, I feel like his last 2 performances weren't what he was looking for, and like Fizzle said, it doesn't really do his name justice, from what I've heard and what he's done in other leagues. And I've listened to his work in other leagues, and he's done very well. But it presents a very dangerous situation, because if you underestimate your opponent based on his last few losses, or if he's been out of the game for a minute, then you put yourself in a position to where they might come out of there rapping like they never have before. And I feel like that's what happened with you. We definitely put on a classic. It was one of those situations where, as a loss that I had to take, however debatable that was, absolutely no shame, because we both came out swinging. I had never seen you rap like that before. I would put it to anyone else to tell me a time where they had. So shit was crazy. But point being is that you got to take them seriously the entire time. You can't sleep.
Yeah. Is it cool if I ask a question? So you know that Trey is very hungry to win this next battle against you. And so, like you said, coming off of what you said, like not to underestimate someone who's just coming off of a loss. And Trey has been public about his preparation for this battle. Are there things that, like looking at his previous work, that you're anticipating that he's going to have as a strength to play in his favor, and how do you plan to combat that?
So as far as that goes, I've noticed that when people have told me that they feel like they would have a hard time preparing for me just because of my my affectations or my taste in music and pop culture, or just based off my appearance in some cases, lost my train of thought. So what I think is important is to get ahead of that and essentially try to anticipate what they're going to say to you, and just 8 Mile the shit out of it. In some cases, you can definitely go overboard where it gets too corny, but I'd anticipate like usual suspects come at me about my weight. Like I'm white, so you might be like, this guy's like racist, he's a redneck, blah blah blah. The Viking stuff you threw at me in our battle, all valid potential criticisms. So for me, I try to give off the idea that I am self-effacing, but not a parody of myself. So it's good to take yourself seriously in order to push your own art and your craft, but not take yourself so seriously that you are affected by everything that comes into your craft.
So yeah, you answered that very well from like a subject matter perspective, but I'm thinking in terms of like how y'all approach the mic a little more lyrically, in terms of how you construct your bars. We've seen Trey kind of excel, especially on the rap elite stage, with a lot of like fast, like Wing Chun type of chain punches. Contrasting that to your a little bit slower, more let's say maybe more methodological approach to your bars. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you are anticipating him, or do you have like not necessarily a rebuttal, but almost like a parry to the style that he's bringing?
Yes. That is the center of the subject matter that I'm planning to basically attack. So I believe that my slower, more methodical style Putting up haymakers can counter a quicker punching style, so to speak. I don't want to show too much of my hand, but I feel like that gives you a pretty good idea of what I'm going for. So then he's not someone that I have a lot of personals for. Like, I don't really have any personals for him. I don't really know him personally. Like, you hear things about people like you do about anyone else, but it's not really something that I like to go off of unless I have something concrete, and even then it's case by case. I would kind of prefer to just fight with bars instead of dragging up personal issues, but everyone approaches it differently. I acknowledge stepping into that ring, I open myself up to that attack. Fair's fair, so
sorry to cut you off, but we haven't really seen Trey, from what I've seen, do a lot of personal attacks. Like, he kind of sticks to what he's very good at, and that's generating like crowd reaction based off of like momentum type punches, and it's not very, very personal, but it's good that you're also thinking about that. I mean, you kind of have to. Anytime you step in battle, these are the easy, like, low picking fruit. Like, I feel that. So yeah.
There's a lot of moments that I have seen when he's been battling where I feel like the punches could apply to a lot of people, and others have pointed that out before too. That's not a new subject that has been broached. So unless he is coming at me with really pointed shit, I am mostly expecting to hear something of a copy and paste kind of style. It's going to, and I don't necessarily mean any shade by that. I don't like to talk too much shit about a guy who's not here to defend himself, but this is still a face-off. So I would expect to hear a lot of pop culture references that will have something to do with the way he's planning on killing me. A lot of headshot, dun dun dun, leg shot, dun dun dun. Got a gun so big, dun dun dun. Actually, to make me not a gun so big, I wouldn't put him in such a generic pigeonhole. But still, I think it's going to be stuff that is a little bit more generalized. Whereas for me, I'm going to counter that by going more with a more pointed kind of approach.
What are you most fearful about this battle?
I wouldn't say that I'm afraid. I'm still figuring out exactly how I react when I'm really spoken to, because you were the first person to really fucking talk to me on stage, and I'm still kind of reeling from that Glizzy Goblin Gilbert bar, which is pretty fantastic. So, like, my reaction is to smile and laugh and sip water. Trey does not necessarily strike me as an intimidating person, but when anyone gets in your face, whether it's a Chihuahua or a Rottweiler, it's still not calling him a Chihuahua, whatever. But when anyone gets in your face, you tend to kind of have like a certain reaction. But yeah, I don't find myself being particularly fearful of anything. Like, I'm afraid of failing myself. I'm afraid of disappointing myself and losing, because I really think that this could be a definitive win for me. Like, I think that I can take this from being a debatable to being a certain, like, minimum 2-1 win.
Yeah. And I think part of being an MC is also like holding your composure. When someone is 2 centimeters from your face just barking at you, you open yourself up to any form of criticism. And that's any character shortcoming, anything you said in the past, and it could be anything. We've seen Tone Red make a punchline out of punctuating a 1-word sentence, so it could be anything. So it's good that you stand on who you are as your character, and there isn't anything fearful that an opponent can say against you at this point. I mean, after battling me, I'm not sure what people can say too much personally, but
so you ticked a lot of the boxes.
But yeah, I mean, that's part of being an MC, is just like not to let another MC manipulate your emotions, manipulate your consciousness, because the moment that someone makes you feel what you want them to feel, then they are accomplishing the objective of the MC in the first place. Right? So to have that mental fortitude, that character, the structure you have, I think that's a growth that I've seen in you. And that's something that comes from being battle tested. When someone's in your grill just speaking to you like that. So I've vet you at least on that characteristic for sure. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So let me ask you. I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. Fizzle. Prediction.
Oh, I don't never do predictions.
You don't
Yeah.
do predictions. Fair.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. There are too many factors to consider. I mean, anything can happen that night. I can't say that both MCs do have a good chance of winning. I can't really call it clear either one way. If Trey is having a good night that night, we've seen what he can do on cam. He can control the room, but you also have aspects to your presentation that he doesn't have. The comedic aspects. I don't think I've seen Trey do a lot of that too. I think you can work that into your advantage. So it's hard for me to make a prediction, and that's really as much as I can say about it.
That's fair. Prediction, Introverse.
To echo off of what Fizzle said, anyone I battle with has just as much a chance of winning as me. Anyone can forget their bars. Anybody can stumble. Anybody can space out. But because it's me and I'm me, obviously 2-1 definite. Like I'm planning to 30 the gentleman, but I'm going to be modest and I'm going to say 2-1 because he's battle tested too. He knows what he's doing, and who knows? Like he's lost his last two. Third time might just be the charm. You never know. I might have something totally different on my hands. Is that? Do I need to pause that? No. Okay. What will you do now?
You can always just say pause to cover yourself.
The pause patrol ain't here today, so I wasn't sure.
March 24th, Introverse versus Trey Authentic is going down. Make sure you get your tickets. We will see you then. Southpaw Battle Coalition, we fight different. Shout out to King Fizzle.
Yeah.